Hello!
Hello! La, 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 la.
Lost my voice there. This is the Second Button Podcast. And today we're doing Season 3, Episode 1, The Note. And this originally aired September 18th, 1991. Mm-hmm. I'm Andrew. This is Brian. If you're listening, you probably know our names by now, but that's who we are.
I think because the last episode was so funky and different.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do we start these things? Yeah, I'm Brian. So I guess I'm just getting excited to jump into Season 3, Episode 1. This is definitely when I think maybe NBC, well, I get a little story, but NBC was a little more like, okay, I guess the show is going now. So kind of have a little bit more, creativity when writing.
You texted me the other day and I checked. I didn't respond yet because I was going to tell you now. The order's still all messed up on the DVD.
Okay. So
there's an episode from last season that didn't get aired on TV, and then it got put onto Season 3, and that's... So on the DVDs, there's 13 episodes in Season 2.
Okay.
And then the one where they're stranded in Long Island, that one's in Season 3.
And that's in the garage, right?
No, where they get stranded at the party.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's in this season, but it was originally supposed to be on Season 2. And then there's still episodes that are all out of whack in the wrong spot, so...
Okay, yeah. Because I was texting Andrew, I'm like, okay, do you think NBC kind of was like, okay, they totally fucked up the order of Season 2? That really the ending where Jerry and Elaine were a couple, Yeah. And then I liked it better when you weren't a couple. Kramer ends, boom, funny, funny, ha ha ha. No, it like kind of like caps off like the series, because they didn't know they were going to get picked up again.
Yeah.
But that was in the middle of the season. And so now, if that was the end and it starts with Season 3, there's no fucking like that talks of them being a couple, no talks of nothing. They just ignore that. So the continuity was all fucked up.
And in the intro for you, was there vocals?
Yes.
In the music?
Okay.
Yes.
I guess we'll get to that. I got a little tidbit on that guy. So yeah. I guess I misspoke. NBC was still like, hey, what about this? And picking at him and fucking up the order of the episodes. Yeah. But I guess it doesn't affect it as much in this season because there's no real like plot changing things.
We'll find over the next 24 episodes.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out. Yeah. Anyways, so this episode is Season 3, Episode 1, The Note, and it starts off with a comedy bit about doctors. Everyone's doctor is the best. There's can't be this many bests. It's like somebody had to have been graduating at the bottom of that class. Who is that doctor? And he's like, no one ever says their guy's the worst. Or he's he's like, nobody ever says like, you go to my guy, you're gonna be worse off than when you went to him. He's a butcher.
Yeah. I had a doctor say to me once, they said, it doesn't matter how good you do in school, the lowest score doctor is still a doctor. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to someone else, thanks.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's true, because it's not like you're ever going to know, like, their test scores. It's not like any of that fucking matters. I guess it's just how good were the results or whatever.
Yeah.
But he does the whole thing. It's like, hey, mention my name. And it's like, what's the difference? It's not like, be like, oh, Andrew? Okay, I'll give you the real medicine.
Yeah, I'll really take care of you now. I was going to poison you earlier.
I was giving everybody else Tic Tacs.
Yeah.
The sugar pills. So I think it's a great bit. It's like still relatable today because I do take recommendations from friends on some doctors. I guess I went to my optometrist through a coworker because I kind of just go with whatever's closest to me and my insurance will cover. And then I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I usually go. But if somebody has a recommendation and I, care about their opinion, and I'm like, I'll give it a shot. I go to my chiropractor. I've been going to him for years, and it was a recommendation of a friend. And, at the time he was really close, and then he's moved further away and then still in the county. But I'm like, I'll go follow him to the ends of the county to go see him. Yeah. Yeah. But, I guess it's like how you would take recommendations for things like, say going to, repair shops or, restaurants and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, yeah, take your friend's, word for it. They're never going to say like, oh, you should go check this, auto shop. They fucking suck.
Yeah.
And they charge you up the ass. Nobody, with that anything that they choose or a person chooses, they're usually not like saying, oh, I got screwed over.
Yeah.
This place is awesome.
What made you think of auto shops?
Oh, my truck. Yeah. It's on the mind.
Yeah.
My truck just like died in the parking lot.
Farted out on you.
Yeah. So I've been going to a shop that my father recommended. That's where he takes his piece of shit Focus.
Your Ford's a piece of crap, so is mine. Take it there.
So is mine. Yeah, we're cut from the same cloth here. Go there.
Yeah.
And so like they know my truck pretty well, and they definitely know my dad. They see my dad, and the last name's like, oh, your dad coming here? I'm like, yeah. His name is Dan.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's got the red. Yeah, we know that. We know his car.
Yeah.
His car is infamous. But anyways, so this is what you alluded to earlier. It's like, you notice how this episode, the theme song, I think it was the first theme song. First time we heard this bass.
Yes.
And kind of.
Well, they had the bass and stuff, but they had more into it, and they had the horns. I think was it the horns,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
And then the scatting over top of the horns.
Yes. You can hear like voices scatting, like "Hey," and I think they say "easy to beat."
Yeah, he said
something. They're just making shit up.
There was a little thing from Jonathan Wolfe, the composer, on the DVD, and he said, he said Jerry came to him and asked if he can put some. Jerry was at a club or something. There were some people just scatting, like jazz kind of scatting. He said, "Can we add some of that over the music?" So he took where the horns were and he added the scatting, just gibberish, whatever, on top of it.
You can hear like "Hey" instead of like,
and then they put it out there. They didn't talk to anyone at NBC. They just threw it on the episode, and they did a couple episodes like that. And then the first one aired, and NBC got all mad. They're like, no one ran that through us, so they kiboshed it. So they had to go back and take it out of the other episodes because NBC got upset.
That's the article that I read. It was like Jerry liked it, Larry liked it, so did Jonathan Wolfe, the composer. They all loved it. And then they didn't clear it with Castle Rock or NBC. They did not love it. So Wolf had to go back and hastily remix the song without the haze and scats and stuff like that. So only in the first episode you'll see it aired with it because he, in the meantime, had time to go back and change, that mix.
And it was awful.
And then it was not good. It was the fact that I'm like, all three of them were like, how did all three of them like it? This is one where NBC was right to stick their
right thing. It's awful.
Put their foot down because it's cheesy.
That's why I was curious if it was on the Netflix episode because I thought maybe they would have went back and fixed it.
No, it was on the Netflix episode, and it's the only episode that has the haze. So
yeah,
just because Jerry saw like a scat group, he's like, that'd be good. Let's add that. So at that point, it would be like, you're the joke writer, and now actor. Leave the music to me, okay? I can handle this.
He goes and sees NWA and he pulls a Kramer.
Yeah.
Carrying on.
That's pretty good. I got an idea. Well, anyways, so the show opens up with Jerry getting massaged, and he's just small talk with the masseuse. I'm talking about like what she eats, and it's like, what bullshit conversation this is. And then I have a salad for lunch, and I can have whatever I want for dinner. And he's like, okay, cool. And then you can tell he's like, oh, let me just work on a bit here. I got, what does he say? Oh, he's like, what do you think the worst part about being blind is?
Such an odd question.
And he's just like, I don't know. And she's definitely not having it. And then he's like, I think it's, not knowing if there's bugs in my food. Yeah. He's like, I'd be picking around, feeling in my mouth, da-da-da-da-da. And then she mentions like how her, 5-year-old is a picky eater.
Yeah. And
then he immediately goes on about some, news story about a kid who was kidnapped in Philadelphia. He's like, mentions how that could be anybody. There's crazy people all over the place. He could be one of those people. And then she's getting freaked out. She's like, tries to change the subject. She's like, so seen any good movies? And then he just still goes on and asks about her son. So who takes care of your boy during the day?
We have a woman, why?
He's like, and he's just going. He's like, I'm just saying, you know, she's great. She had references, you know. And then he's like, I'm sure she did. I'm sure they were impeccable. But I'm talking about the people that forge them. He just can't shut the fuck up. Like in the moment, he doesn't understand. Like, you know, this is perfectly good conversation. But when it's like super personal about her son, and he's talking about abduction, you know, murders, stuff like that, and she's like, I don't want to, you know, put those two things together.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, and he's just like, I could be one of those people.
She like freaks out. She goes, I don't live near here, you know.
Yeah. So she's all fucked up about it.
Yeah.
So anyways, it goes back to Jerry's, and he's talking about the massage and her getting all weird. You know, like, what's up with this? Get a load of this lady here, kind of thing. And then, was it Elaine kind of mentions, you know, oh, I don't really like to talk when I'm getting massaged. He's like, I don't either, but I do it for them. Like Jerry's like, you know, man of the people kind of thing. And then George butts in and he's like, oh, I do too. He's like, I feel guilty about getting, you know, all the pleasure. So I talk and it stops me from enjoying it.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know. I mean, you gotten massaged before?
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely prefer no talking. Usually starts off with like quick conversations like, so what's hurting? Oh, my neck, my shoulder. And then there's just shitty music being played.
I had a few that like try to start conversation, and then I just start giving the one-word answer so they'll stop asking me questions. Just let me get my massage.
Right. Sometimes, because I'll go for, you know, the deep tissue massage. And I'm like, I love that. It's like, definitely like put your fucking elbow in that thing, that knot in my neck. And a lot of times, sometimes I'll make noise because I'll make a noise like, it's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, you gotta keep going.
Yeah. As long as you can talk to them, you're not just moaning at them.
It's like, oh, there's like a fucking baseball in your neck. I'm like, yeah, I gotta work that out.
Yeah.
It's usually the most, you know, I don't know, I talk. And then was thinking about it, and during this episode, I'm like, I haven't gotten massaged in a long time. Because I used to go, I feel like I gotta get one. And I'm like, oh, 10 step here.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, my shoulder's kind of tight.
Yeah, I get it in like kind of where my neck meets my skull and my head. It's like always tight right there. And so they're usually like, how does this happen? I'm like, I have no idea. It's probably how I sit or sleep or whatever.
Your head banging all the time.
Just looking at my phone all day. I'm like,
watching Stranger Things finale and head banging to Metallica.
There's like that meme of like, it says, man, my back always hurts. I don't know why. And then it's like shows like how I sit on my chair. It's like a shrimp on like a gamer chair. It's like, that's how I sit all day. But yeah, I used to go to the I don't know, massage therapist or whatever at my chiropractor, but then he moved and she didn't go with him. So now I'm like, fuck, I need to get that's where I need to get a recommendation.
Yeah.
I need to find somebody who's their masseuse is the best. Because I kind of don't want to end up just Googling it or searching for it. I'm like, might wind up at some jerk shack.
What?
So I'm like, I don't want to. This is not what I want.
Like, I don't got an extra $5 on me. I can't go there.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me when I moved.
Yeah.
Because I'm far away enough that I'm not going back to where I was for everything. So find a new eye doctor, new massage place, and I've been to a couple places, but I haven't found my place for getting massages yet. So
you need to find who is the best.
Yeah, exactly.
If you can, was it like a Nextdoor app or something like that? Like, hey, who's optometrist is the best, and then people like, mine's the best. No, mine is.
There is a Facebook group, like a wants to know Facebook group, and that's what we thought that was for, was to find out who's the best. And it's not. Yeah. It's about people bitching about fireworks and stuff like that. So it's not effective.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like that's gonna be something on my radar. I got to find a new place to get a massage, a legit one.
Let me know. I'll fly down if it's any good.
Yeah. It'll be the best. My guy or gal is gonna be the best.
Yeah.
Anyway, so back to it. George is. It's funny. He's just going through Jerry's fridge in the background, just commenting how it's not stocked. There's nothing in here. It's like, okay, George just going through his shit like he's a fucking raccoon. He's like, what is this? What do you got here? Just taking bites of things. They're like, not even an apple in here.
And when they open the fridge, George opened the fridge and Ash goes, there's nothing in the fridge. And I'm like taking my notes, and then George goes, there's nothing in here. I'm like, oh, I guess I don't even take that note anymore. George already said it.
So, but anyway, so he goes on and tells, the details of why she may have gotten freaked out is because he, talks about the kidnapping story as soon as, she had mentioned she had a son. And Elaine's like, that's stupid. I know it's stupid. That was so stupid. Like, she's just like going on him. And then all this is going on while George is in the back, just picking at the fridge still. And he finds some old Chinese food. And he's like, can I have it? Yeah, go ahead. He takes a bite and it sucks. And then he puts it back.
What's this, ginger? I hate ginger.
Who likes ginger? And then he just puts it back in the fridge.
Yeah.
So I think this is just a good dynamic. Like this first kind of scene is just them. They're hanging out.
Yeah.
They're friends and they're catching up in Jerry's apartment. So they're not like having a good time. It's not like it's like unobtainium. It's like, oh man, my friendship is never going to be. No, they're just kind of catching up on things basically.
Yeah. And
while George is
sitcoms,
bitching.
especially at the time, a scene like that would be the two characters standing facing each other and just talking back and forth. So throwing this George in there to interrupt them every 2 seconds, it really...
Yeah, and then he comments on the conversation too, but he's also like doesn't care as much because he's hungry.
Yeah.
So,
until
anyway, so yeah. So it's like it's a good way that sets up the episode in a non like fucking in your face kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like about it too. It's kind of noticing that they're like, and then Kramer comes in a little bit too, but yeah, just the friends hanging out.
Yeah.
Elaine mentions how she knows a good masseuse. It's like, hey, you're probably gonna need to find somebody else. But Jerry says like she's not just she's a physical therapist, not a masseuse. It's more of a medical procedure. And he says like if you get a doctor's note, it's covered by insurance.
Yeah.
George's ears perk up right away. Slams the fridge.
Yeah, he's not hungry anymore. He can get something for free.
No. He's still holding something that he looks like he already took a bite out of. He's got a jar of jam or jelly or fucking big ass fucking jar.
Yeah.
It's like a big ass dill pickle jar or something like that. But it's like it's like halfway full, and he's just got his fucking spoon in there. With a spoon, he's gonna eat it. And like to me, I'm like, I got caught up on that nobody mentioned anything. Like he's just gonna eat out of that.
Yeah.
Like I've done that with peanut butter before. You get a little scoop there, and then but now with just like jelly. Or marmalade or
two fingers of peanut butter.
Yeah. Like, come on, Georgie boy. Anyway, so he hears the word free and then whatever, and he's with it.
Yeah.
Jerry mentions like, yeah, I got a friend Roy, he's a dentist, and he could write a note and then it would be covered by insurance. So so George is about it. He's like, all right, I guess I'm gonna get a massage. It goes to the scene ends and it goes to Elaine and George at the physical therapist's office. So the receptionist tells Elaine she will be with Juliana and George will be with Raymond.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't sit well immediately with George. You can see on his face he's like, "What? He can't get a massage from a man. He can't get touched by a man."
Yeah. So homophobic.
Yeah. He tries to like trade with Elaine, and then she doesn't want to because it could get sexual. And that's why George wants to trade. Like, it could get sexual. And if it's going to get sexual, it should get sexual with you.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell does that mean? Like,
so it's like this guy's in George's mind. I'm homophobic and I don't want a guy touching me because it might get sexual. But I want Elaine to get molested instead of me.
Yeah. That's what he's like. If anyone's going to get molested, it should be Elaine.
Yeah.
He tries a couple times and then it's not going. But I guess this is maybe the second time in the series already where George kind of like has like a little he has like homophobia. Yeah. I know it was the one where he didn't want to sit next to Jerry in the front seat of the car.
Yes.
It's like, what the hell was that for?
I'd have Elaine as a buffer.
Like, it's not like I guess it's not like, it's just fear of himself or others thinking that he's gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just it comes up a couple times, and I just think it's kind of funny. It's like George, of course, just being George. So anyways, George is like not having it, and then he's trying to get Elaine to switch, and while they're talking and bickering, this tall drink of water comes out, and it's Raymond.
Yeah, chiseled.
Yeah, he's like, "You George?" He's like looking up at him and then trying not to like stare at his crotch too because it's eye level. And George is like, "Oh." So the next scene,
I got
George,
they did kind of have it, so it was like,
yeah,
right,
right at his eyes. The next scene, George is on the table getting massaged by Raymond. His shirt is off, and he's just really giving it to him. He even like puts his leg up on the table and kind of leans into it. And George is like, he's like all tensed up. He's not having it. He's like, he's doing all he can to not enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Like you just see, he's not relaxed at all. He's nothing. Like he's probably like he's planking.
He's like propped up on his elbows.
Yeah. So, he tells George, like to open up his pants so he can get a little bit lower, and then it'll be easier that way. So George does it, and he's now on high alert.
Yeah,
he's super tensed up. Like the guy's like, "Oh, okay." He undoes his pants a little bit, and then the guy pulls down, and George is like, poof, jolts up. He's physically
apparently where he pulled his pants and he actually slid down a little bit. That wasn't planned. So Jason Alexander actually startled me, like, whoop, yanked him down in the bed a little bit.
That's pretty good.
That was a real reaction. Yeah,
like he's just making small talk, and George just can't concentrate.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "All right, well, why don't you take off your pants and, so we can get that hamstring." And then George is like, "What?" And so he's like, he just plays it off like, no, the hamstring, no, it's good. It's like, well, you wrote down here. I wrote that? I don't think so.
Yeah, he's like, I didn't write it.
I'm good. And then so he tells him again, it takes off his pants, and he does it reluctantly, but he's like, okay. So he kind of jolts up, pulls his pants down, flops on the table again.
As fast as possible.
Yeah, it's like you're not gonna catch me. I'm gonna jump on the table fast. I don't know why. You can tell just George is super uncomfortable, and this guy he's like, whatever, it's my job. It's not no big deal.
Yeah.
So he's working on him, and he's got that on his hamstring in the back of his leg. He's like asks George how he heard it, and George just can't answer. His mind is going like a mile a minute. It's all just, I don't know. You don't know.
He just doesn't want to talk about it at all.
Yeah. Korea. What? Hamstring. Hotel. So it ends, and it just like it's a great way of just like him just not, he just can't get into it. And he's like doing everything he can to not be into it. The next scene, Elaine is in the waiting room waiting for George, and she's clearly feeling relaxed and had a great massage. George is traumatized.
Yeah.
He walks out there. How'd it go, George? And he just leaves.
Just walks out.
So back at Jerry's place, he's on the phone. He's trying to get another massage appointment or physical therapy appointment because his neck is bothering him. But all the appointments are booked, no openings.
Yeah.
You can tell like the woman is clearly doesn't want Jerry around after the last conversation about child abduction.
Yeah.
Kind of put her off a little bit, I would say.
Yeah.
So George comes in, and he reluctantly tells Jerry he got a massage from a man. Like he's confessing to something like a crime. And this was the scene that they used when they were casting the George character in the Jerry pilot later on. Yeah. It's a very classic George scene. So he tells Jerry like he's trying to come to terms with what happened. He's laughing nervously. He's stuttering. No eye contact. That kind of thing. And it's like he was touching and rubbing. He got about 2 inches from there, and I think it moved. Like all these things, and then and Jerry's like trying to make him feel better. So what if it moved? That's the sign, the test. He's like, no, contact is the test. So it has to be touched? Yeah, that's what a gym teacher told me.
I thought that was the weirdest thing.
Yeah, and then he's like,
teacher told me once.
And that's enough for George to believe it. Like, oh yeah, this sounds pretty good. Jim, yeah, he's health. Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So Kramer busts in, his first appearance of this season. So he slides on in, and he tells.
You got really good at the slide. The slide is perfected at this point.
He tells the crew that he saw Joe DiMaggio at Dinky Donuts. Jerry doesn't believe him. He's not going to Dinky Donuts. He'd go to like a fancy restaurant or like a fancy hotel if he wanted, coffee and a donut.
Yeah.
And then George is talking to himself. He's like, I don't even like to sit next to a man on an airplane because our knees might touch. It goes unnoticed. No, but nobody even pays attention to it. Jerry is still talking about little tiny filthy dinky donuts and how Joe DiMaggio wouldn't be in there with Kramer. And then George, again, to himself, kind of on the couch, away from them. He's like, I don't even like to use urinals. I've always been a stall man. And that stops. There's the laugh from the crowd, and then Kramer stares at him. It stops even Kramer. Yeah, so then he does a double take.
Yeah. And the double take was priceless. Like, that was perfect.
Yeah. The fact that even Kramer, like, he got stopped and he had to reset and go back to it. But George asked Jerry about, getting the note from his friend Roy. And Jerry's like, I didn't agree to that. And it's like, George can't, like, he can't really be out $75. And then I looked at, like, this came out, like you said, September 1991.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be, according to Google, and you just put, like, how much is $75 in today's money?
Yeah.
It'd be about $160.
Yeah.
That's pretty, that's up there. And it's a pretty good amount of money, especially if you're unemployed like George. So I could see George not. I'm like, why the fuck did he even go?
Because that's what I pay for massages here for an hour, $75.
Yeah.
Is it like guitar lessons and weed? The price just never goes up. It's $20 an hour for guitar lessons. It's $10 a gram for weed, and it's $75 for massage. Doesn't matter what year it is.
Yeah. So it goes up with the inflation, I guess.
Yeah.
So Jerry agrees, and then he's like, okay, fine, we'll talk to you'll go see his buddy Roy. And then Kramer starts ribbing him, George about, so you're a stall man, huh? And then the scene fades. It seems like there could have been more to that.
Yeah.
But so they're at the dentist's office, and then Jerry's kind of prefacing the favor. It's like, hey, you don't have to do it. I know you don't, if you feel weird about it, and George is like steamrolling. What do you mean weird? Did he say anything? It's like George is like wants that note. He doesn't want to fucking pay any money. He's such a shithead. He just doesn't care about anybody else. He just doesn't want to like be put out himself. So, what is it? So Jerry and Roy are talking, and then George just starts staring off camera. You can see him just like full attention to something. He's looking at a signed poster of Evander Holyfield. And so Roy says, like, oh, he's a friend of one of my patients. He's got a hell of a body, doesn't he? What kind of comment is that?
And George's like, how would I know?
Well, even just to say that, it's like, oh yeah, instead of saying like he's a hell of a fighter, which sounds,
he's got a hell of a body.
Yeah, he's it's really powerful, punch. He's like, he's a hell of a body, don't you think? And then George is super like offended to that. It's like, how would I know? What do you mean like him? He's so defensive. Well, you don't like him? I mean, yeah. And then
he's a good fighter, and probably a nice guy, but I don't like him.
It's not like, do you like him?
Yeah.
And then Jerry's like, looks at him like, what is the matter with you? What the fuck are you doing? It's pretty good. So George is just like hyper aware. He was like, I definitely did not enjoy that
what's
massage.
The matter? He goes, why? Do you think something? Do you think I'm different?
Yeah. Why? What's the matter? Do you think I'm different? Like the massage changed him.
Yeah.
So as Roy is writing up that note, George is just losing himself in Holyfield's body. Just that poster, and it fades. So back at Jerry's, and he still can't get an appointment for his neck. So he's on the phone, and then he just sits next to Elaine and scooches her over with like not saying anything.
Yeah, just butt.
And after that phone call, like him and her just have like a little thing. They're like, "What? Why? What'd you do? Why were you sitting so close to me?" He's like, "You were sat close to me.
Yeah,
you were scrunching me." And then it's just like, because I don't know. I kind of like that. Maybe it was supposed to be more, but it kind of added a thing like, there's no sexual tension between these two.
No, they're just annoying each other.
It's just like friends of like, hey, scoot over. There's like an unspoken rule. It's my couch. I'm sitting down. Scoot over, kind of thing. So I kind of like that. It was kind of like almost like a non sequitur, but Yeah. Anyways, Kramer comes in and he talks, or he mentions that he saw Joe DiMaggio again at Dinky's.
Yeah.
And then Elaine's, the first time she's hearing this story, Jerry's like, oh God, again. So it also like shows like, what the hell does Kramer do all day?
Yeah. Goes for donuts, comes home.
Yeah. And so he's just like, just kind of going around town and like, how does he pay for that apartment? And so, anyways, so he said, like, how this time he sat across from him and studied him and his every move. So he dunks his donuts in his coffee. He's a dunker. It made me think, I don't think I've ever dunked donuts in coffee. I think
I did because it was a thing. I was like, and then I was like, I don't know why people do this.
Yeah,
just makes your
better
donut soggy.
Yeah.
No.
I've never. Maybe I should give it a shot.
Maybe if you like dry donuts, like if your donut place had dry donuts, or it was like a day old, maybe,
or like more cakey kind of donut, maybe. But yeah, I don't think I've ever actually paired donuts with coffee. I feel like I'm missing out. Like, what the hell's my problem?
You might be. Why don't you do that this week and then come back to us next week and let us know?
Yeah, report not for the next episode.
Yeah,
like I have done donuts with milk. That's definitely a good go-to.
Mm-hmm.
Because it reminds me of like a cake kind of thing. And then donuts with OJ for sure. So
dipping or just eating?
No, not dipping. It's just like paired with
What?
like I'm drinking. Yeah, I'm drinking. You're like, okay, the milk thing I could see, Brian. Orange juice, no.
When I was a coffee drinker, when I drank more coffee, cookies and stuff, I'd have more with it than donuts.
But yeah. Anyway, Kramer's going on about DiMaggio, how he's a dunker, but also nothing diverts his attention. Like Kramer was like, okay, he was smacking the table, he was doing yelping noises
when he smacks that table, that mug bounced like it was full clearance underneath, like at least an inch off the freaking table.
Yeah, because he demonstrates what he was doing. Like he's bam, and thing. He's like yo. I watched with the subtitles, and they wrote yow. And he's like, all that to get him to look up. And like, he's no reaction. He's so focused. He dunks like he plays, like he hits.
Yeah,
he blocks everything around him. He blocks it all out. He's like, and then what happened? Well, then the waitress came over and told me to shut up, or they're gonna throw me out. So like, did you call out his name? And then you could tell Kramer never even thought to be like, oh, hey Joe DiMaggio. Yeah. Just like Kramer's just like, no, I'm just gonna make a bunch of fucking noise and then just yelp like a maniac. Yeah. So Kramer just like, oh, it's a pretty good shot, I think, of his face, like,
like you can see the light bulb
idiot
kind of flickering on.
So George comes in and with a ripped Docker leg there on his pant. He explains the story how some kids called him a Mary when he was jumping over a puddle because the way he jumped over and landed like a ballerina.
He's like, for some reason I jumped like this, and he's like,
and landed like this. And he's like, and then he was chasing after him, and then he fell. So George really showed those kids.
They wouldn't have laughed at him then.
And then Kramer, he's just like not even looking at him. He's like, well, kids can be very, very perceptive, So he's just like, yeah, those kids are right. And then, Elaine's ribbing him too. It's like, George, what's this? What's that? Yeah. And then the phone rings, Jerry's phone rings, and Kramer instantly picks it up and then goes to answer it. Then Jerry just rips the phone from him. Like, that's definitely a Kramer thing that he does. Like, it's like, what, Delay Industries? No, you got this all wrong. It's a very Kramer thing that he's just like answering, like treats Jerry's apartment like his own. Anyways, it's Roy, and from Jerry's side of the conversation, doesn't sound good. So, no. Roy is under investigation for insurance fraud, and then Jerry gets off the phone, and Jerry starts blaming George. It's like, so I knew we shouldn't have done that. So we got 3 notes. That's too many. He's like, 3 notes? Yeah, for Jerry, George, and Elaine. And Elaine's like, I already got my note from her, my gynecologist. So he's like, that's how they got caught.
And Kramer's kind of singing in the background here. And that comes back at the end of the episode, too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, singing the Joe DiMaggio, Jumpin' Joe DiMaggio. Yeah. So he's kind of in his own world.
Yeah.
And then, Elaine got her note, and then she was like, well, I never asked you to get me one. Well, I'm like doing these reverse burps. I'm going to leave them in. Too much of this soda pop here.
Yeah.
So they never told her that they were getting her a note, and she never told them that she was getting her own. So it's just kind of like, a double note. So it says 2 doctors, 4 notes, da-da-da-da-da.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kramer he's going to bust in here as the saint because he's not involved in this at all. It's like, how could you do that to your friend?
He's so serious, too.
He's got a wife, kids, and a lot of other stuff.
He just leaves.
And he's like, looks at them. Oh, yeah. And then closes the door and leaves. Like, he couldn't have just because he wasn't paying attention. He wasn't involved in it. So now he's just like, well, I'm going to take the higher ground. He didn't have to take any ground.
No, he had nothing to claim there, but he did anyway.
Yeah. So they're back at the dentist's office. And then, because they want to apologize.
Yeah.
And then the receptionist or nurse, she was not having it. It's like, and then Roy comes out and he's like, oh, yeah, come back. I have a patient, but they're under.
So weird.
So they're in the in the back office there while he's like, this patient's just passed out there. They're talking about it, and then it's like, oh, I'm sorry about this whole thing, and it's tragic. Well, it's not tragic. It's unsettling. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
that's the way they talk. And then Roy, he's downplaying it. Like he's like, oh, it's not that big a deal. I'm not too worried about it. And then I think the nurse, Pam, she's upset. She's like, I hope you're happy. The whole practice is in jeopardy. And then they're both like, I'm not happy. I'm like, I've never been happy. Maybe I was happy in college. Yeah, college was fun. And then he's not too worried about it. He's like, oh, there shouldn't be a problem just as long as you get the physical therapist to go along with the story that the massage was had to do with your dental work.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, that sounds bullshit to begin with.
Yeah.
There's no way. Anyways, and then the patient wakes up and they kind of just like, hey, how's it going? And the scene ends. And now they go back to the physical therapist's office. Jerry and George, they're going to try and okay, we're going to try and get this shit taken care of. And then Jerry is trying to speak with Juliana because she was the one who, he got the note for.
Yeah.
And, he's like, oh, trying to talk to the receptionist and be like, okay, can you get her to come out and just need to talk to her? Da-da-da. I know I don't have an appointment, but I just have to talk to her. And she's not having it, not let him go. You had to leave kind of thing. But it turns out Juliana comes out to the waiting room with her son. Yeah. And she's freaked out by seeing Jerry. Like, I've already treated you. You have to go now. And then she has her kid run out of the scene. Like, run.
Run, Billy. Run to the office and close the door.
Billy. And lock
and call
the door.
The police.
Yeah. The way the kid, I think, he runs away like it's life or death. It was pretty good. The kid's like, oh, no. Stranger danger. Like, she has the fear of that Jerry's gonna take the kid, and she tells him to call the police and all that shit. And then it's like, okay, well, that went worse than I could have thought. And then Raymond comes out and is like, hey, George, how's it going? And Jerry gets a good look at that dreamboat.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Raymond, huh? Okay. Good choice.
Yeah.
So it goes back at Monk's, and Roy, he's on a 6-month probation. It's no big deal. Slap on the wrist. Yeah, and then they're sitting there, and it's like, oh, Jerry still feels bad about it. George doesn't give a shit because he mentions he's just again talking to himself. He's like, how men have been popping up in his sexual fantasies.
Yeah,
they just pop in and hang out. Like, hey, George, how's it going?
He's also to be in the middle. He's like,
yeah,
what? Oh,
yeah, he's in the middle of having sex, and they come, hey, George, how's it going, man? And then Jerry's like, maybe it's time for you to get a different hobby, okay?
Yeah.
Instead of just masturbating all day. And then Kramer comes in, joins him at the booth, and then he talks about like
is this Kramer's first time at the booth?
At Monk's?
Yeah, because I remember last season he was the Chinese restaurant. They didn't put him in that because he was supposed to be an indoor in the apartment guy, never supposed to go anywhere else. And then we talked about how he eventually is everywhere else. So I wonder if this is his first time at the booth. I don't remember being in the booth.
Maybe, maybe he's the first time him leaving.
Yeah.
Good point.
Let's go back and watch season 1 and 2 now.
Yeah, I don't think he's not outside much. I think he went out once when he went to like that guy's apartment for the cat.
Yeah.
And he just fucked up, his lamp and shit. So he joins him at the booth and he talks about he just came from Roy's. He's like, I threw up from the gas. They're all about to drink and then they're like, come on, I don't want to hear about that.
Yeah.
And then Jerry spots off camera Joe DiMaggio at the counter. He's eating donuts and he's dunking. They're watching him and he's dunking. And you see just like, you don't see the person, but you just see him dunking in the coffee donuts.
Yeah.
And then George, he's like, you see, that's a handsome man. And they all look at him. He's like, come on.
Yeah.
He brushes it off like it's like, come on. You guys are too homophobic.
Yeah, it's Joe DiMaggio.
Yeah. And then Kramer starts smacking the table and yelling. Yep. Elaine, they're all kind of smiling and breaking character because they're close to it and they see the fucking shit jumping up and splashing on the counter. Yep.
He's slapping it so hard.
And he's like, you see? He doesn't move. So then it ends with the stand-up bit about homophobia in men. It's like what makes a hetero man worry so much? He's like, I think it's because guys can really be talked into anything.
Yeah.
You buy shoes that are uncomfortable. You buy pants. You buy a car or whatever. It's like pretty. You could probably be dealership or whatever, and some guy is like, here, just hold this guy's hand real quick. Yeah. So what do you think?
Yeah, we'll just walk around for a little bit and think about it.
Yeah. See what you think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's what is it? Like in the episode, it didn't take much for George to like kind of waver or even just to take off his pants. The guy's like, come on, take them off. And George's like, okay, I guess I'm going to take these off.
Yeah. I was told to, I better do it.
Yeah. Like how like maybe some guys think that they're like a whisper and a whiskey away from sucking some guy's dick. Like, hey, you better stay away from me, pal. I don't even need any of that.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not how it works, you moron.
No.
I have like friends, definitely more in high school. Definitely people grow up,
Yeah.
But friends that were like definitely like very homophobic in high school. That even jokes like about dicks or whatever. Like they were like, that's gay to even talk about that. Like, penis jokes are hilarious. They're funny.
Yeah.
So, and he was like, so it was Kyle and I where you were in class and we were, I think back when, Musician's Friend, I don't know if you have like guitar catalogs or whatever,
yeah,
where it has like all the music stuff and you kind of just looking at it and reading up on guitars and stuff. And then you get to the drum section, something like that. Something came up with like drumsticks. And then I mentioned like, oh yeah, like the Tommy Lee drumsticks would be like this long and they'd be like, they'd be like really wide, like you're hitting baseball bats.
Big mallets, yeah.
Yeah, the joke, because he has a big old donger. And then a friend was like, yeah, it's more of a donger than a dinger. Anyway, so he's like, a friend was like, what's so funny about that? I was like, oh, because he has a big dick and you have big drumsticks. He's like, oh, guys, that's so fucking gay. And I'm like, well, he's like, you guys are like the only people I know who ever joke about stuff like that. And like, it's pretty gay. And then I'm like, Kyle and I were like, it's still funny.
Yeah. And what if it was? Who cares?
and then, but anyways, as soon as he said that, he's like, you guys are only people I know who joke about penises and dicks and stuff like that. It's pretty gay. And as soon as he said that, right like next to us, not even like across. He's like, so like another group of guys were talking. He's like, yeah, so what are you gonna do when you got 6 black dicks up your ass?
Wow.
and then the guy, that was their loud conversation.
Yeah.
And then he looks over, and then Kyle and I were like, yep, we're the only ones who joke around about dicks.
Yeah.
And so it just,
those guys and those guys and those guys.
and then every fucking other person. So it was him when he realized, like, I don't think that changed him, but he realized, like, I'm just going to keep these thoughts to myself. I'm like, yeah.
Just going to tolerate it.
Yeah, it's like, and then you grow up. But I guess when you're like 16 years old, you're maybe like trying to find yourself or whatever. But I just thought that was a great story because I'm like, Kyle and I are joking around. This guy's not having it. And then he tries to make a point. It's like, statistically, you're the only one. So this, I'm like, actually, no. Everybody's joking about penises and going up asses or whatever. It's funny. He's like, you got 6 black dicks up your ass. What are you gonna do? I don't even know what that conversation was, but I remember that.
I'm trying to imagine what the conversation could be.
I don't know. Maybe just a bunch of nasty Nates when you're in jail.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my story. It's like, yeah, some people just can't. They're so put off by it.
They just can't hang.
Yeah. Yeah, or they're just so straight.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah, so anyways, yeah, it was a great episode. Definitely a good kick off to season 3. I thought it was a great episode. And I know we talked about it last time about like, what would be like not like quintessential, but maybe just a great episode for somebody to start on. This would be it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
You got all the main characters. They're out there, getting after it.
There's no real speed bumps to this one. Like everything just just flew through the episode. So
yeah, everybody has their like little parts, and especially Kramer. His story is not enough to derail anything, but it's enough to like add funny bits here and there.
And then it all ties together at the end. Like they're getting better at that.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing all the individual stories together.
Yeah, they, the guy is on probation. George is still finding himself. Joe DiMaggio's there. Boom, done.
Mm-hmm. It all worked.
Yeah.
But if you guys are looking for some cleaner content with us, we have an Instagram.
Yeah, check us out on social media, Instagram, Twitter, the YouTube channel. So there's a video version of this podcast. And yeah, all linked in the description of this podcast. So.
And if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. And in the comments below, tell us if you dunk your donuts.
Yeah. If you dunk your dinky donuts.
Yeah. If you dunk your
Not a dinky.
Donuts.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Goodbye now.
Bye.